Hello everyone, this is going to be a quick walkthrough that you can see how you will be able to run the AWS clusters in EC2 using the AMI, and it will be a run through where you can use the prepared AMI created on the 10th of June 2021 in order to create your Hadoop cluster with 3 nodes. So when you log in, go to EC2 and you should be able to see your dashboard. And first of all, I would like you to check whether you have the security group set up. By right, you should have it done, which is the IST3134 EC2 Hadoop security group. And you can see SSH has been configured for connection from anywhere, and also you will have the all traffic allowed for anyone who has the security group, which is all the clusters or all the nodes we have in the cluster. So all these are configured and you are good to go with the security group setting. And with this, you should look into the next part. Okay, I want you to look into the key pairs, where there also one key pair created, where you can use that to log on to your cluster, any of the nodes using this key pair that you have created. So remember where you save that file, it could be a PPK, which is what you will use for the Windows PuTTY. If you have a PEM save, then you probably use that for Mac OS or Linux. If you don't have it, you can create key pair, but in this case we already have it, so we're ready to go. So next, you want to scroll and go to EC2 dashboard. Oh no, you go to the AMI, sorry, and here please search for public image. Okay, public image that comes from the owner 6282 4 times the 7 5450. That's 6282 7777 5450. Select it and click launch. We're going to go through the quick way. Select the type, which is a T2 medium, and immediately click on review and launch. And at this part, you don't have to do much except change the security group. Okay, select the security group I've just mentioned to you, and next, now go and check on edit instance details, and here you would decide how many nodes you would like to create. So we're going to put 3. Of course, you can put something else, but for our examples, we will set 3 as default for all our exercises. If you do put more than that, you need to make different configurations, which we'll cover in other videos or when there's a need. So if you now double check both are done, you can now click launch to launch them. And before that, you see that the system will ask you to select the key pair. Therefore, select the key pair we have created for these exercises and click launch instances. There you go, you're ready. And while waiting, let's do the standard stuff. And of course, you can see I have 3 nodes terminated. That's all because earlier I have created them, and of course for saving purposes I've terminated. I do not need them anymore. If you have this and you would like to only look at the few, you can also go to the instances, the filter, and you try to filter and change the view. Okay, if not, you can see the IP address is already there. You can already do your preparation. Okay, so easier way, maybe you can go to the filter and select the instance state. Right, look for only running and also pending, and then you only see the 3 new nodes being displayed. Okay, so you see now, let's select instance state and running. You see the 3 new nodes that are being set up, 2 already done, and you can see the IP addresses are there. Next, just put the names for easy references. So master, slave 1 and slave 2. And these are kind of convention you can use. And if you have more than 3 nodes, of course you can name slave 3, 4 as you like. So if you check the IP address, they are ready, and let's do the part where you configure the private and also public IP address. So go one by one, select the relevant IP address and copy it and put it on this notepad so that you can have a easy reference later than going back to the dashboard again and again. So this is the public address for master, and next you can prepare and go and get the information for slave 2 and slave 1. So you can see that's the double check, public address and also the private address. They should be correct. And now go to the next one, which is the private address for slave 1. And then the next one is 54.227.72.167. That will be the public address for slave 1. And finally, you can go to slave 2 and again put in the private address. Okay, .2244, and then next 3.84.113.89. Now we have now all the addresses listed, and I think in order to be very sure, you might want to cross check just to make sure there's no mistake. And also these are addresses that you will definitely be copying the private addresses to put it into the host file. So maybe you want to label it in case you may confuse yourself. Okay, that is maybe not a bad idea, just to make sure you tell yourself and make it very clear so that you won't copy the wrong one. So when this is ready, get ready to copy them, because this will be the one that you will copy into your using SSH to paste it in your etc host file on all 3 nodes, and this will enable 3 nodes to be able to do each other. Yep, if you have 3 and 4, you probably want to add and extend this list so that all nodes know the IP address of each other. So when you're ready, you can copy them. And now we should be ready to start to connect through SSH. So copy the IP address of the master, but this round let's start from the slave nodes first. Okay, so go to any of the configuration you have set up earlier. You may want to load it and then put in the new IP address of the node you would like to SSH in, and now double check, click open, and you usually get the alert that you just have to click accept. And now you are ready to enter. So first thing, put sudo nano etc/host and now copy the 3 lines and you can paste it in the file. Now Ctrl X, yes, press Y and then enter, and there you go, you're done. Now you can actually start a new session, and by now taking the public address of slave 1, we've just completed slave 2. Do this step again, load the file, change the IP and open. So it's the same thing except the security alert, and now you are in slave 1. So sudo nano /etc/host, and same thing, copy the 3 lines and then paste them in your host file. Remember this step, why you're doing it is because you want to tell every node what are the IP addresses of each single nodes you have. Therefore, the system will know slave 1 belongs to this IP and slave 2 belongs to the other IP, and so is for master. So when you're done, click Ctrl X, press Y and enter, And now you can even ping master, right, or any other nodes. Okay, it's not master 1, it should be master, so ping master. Alright, just have to type it correctly, sorry for that. And you can see the system recognizes the IP just by checking the name, and such a setting allows us to make the image quite flexible, because in the settings of the Hadoop we didn't put any IP addresses because they are dynamic, or at least they can be different by the time you set it up. But we can always tell the Hadoop cluster to take note of who is the master and who are the slaves. In this case, the image is ready to set up 3 nodes cluster with 1 master and 2 slaves. And that's why we have to do this step to configure the IP addresses every time when you create new system, right, or the new instances. So now we are ready to go to the final one. Let's go to the master node. Okay, this round we start from the slave node, so that once we are done with master node, you can actually continue with other work or exercises directly, since you have master node ready. So let's change the IP and click open. You may also want to save it if you want to. Okay, click open, and same thing, accept the security alert, and now you are in. Okay, sudo nano /etc/host, copy the same 3 lines, and by right all 3 machines are now configured and they know the addresses of each other through this mechanism. So maybe on the cross check whether slave 1 is reachable, by right it should work. Now slave 2 is also good, and if you want to check, you can even ping yourself, okay, or ping master itself, and you can see the IP addresses should match. So at this part, let's go into the last steps. Very important, a new cluster with 3 new nodes that have just been set up. You also need to make sure that the name node is set up, therefore you need to do this step. Okay, HDFS name node format, but of course you can't do it at Ubuntu. You have to change your name, right, to change the user to Hadoop. Therefore, sorry for that, it should be su-hadoop, and please remember password is MapReduce, all small letter. And now you are user Hadoop. So type HDFS name node -format. You see that the system now will actually prepare the system, or prepare the cluster with the name node ready on the master. So it takes a while. And when it's done, you see the messages as what you see in the screen. Congratulations, name node has been set up. And finally, you would like to start the servers. You can of course always say start dfs.sh, that will start the HDFS service or daemon. And after that, you may want to do start yarn.sh, that's where the Hadoop services will be ready. But for our exercises, I've already told you, you can do a start all, which is not recommended. If you do it, they will tell you, but for our exercises should be okay, right? We are not in a production environment, it's just for testing and learning. It should be okay. Yeah, so it takes a while. You see that the system for the first time will try to set it up, and slowly you see the system will start all the services needed. And at this point, you can see the resource manager, the node managers are up, and we are ready. So the first thing, if you want to check, you can always check whether HDFS is working. Therefore, you do a Hadoop fs -ls / the root directory of your cluster. And of course, by right, you should get nothing, which is normal because it's an empty new HDFS cluster or storage. What I'll show you now is to create the user directory in the Hadoop cluster for Hadoop, and that's where you can put /user/Hadoop. Of course, this wouldn't work because user doesn't exist. Therefore, you should first create /user on the Hadoop cluster first, and then /user/Hadoop for the subdirectory. And after that, you can also take a look and see whether the directories exist. You can see user exists now, and now you can also check under root directory. Okay, and if you don't put anything, this means you are looking in the home directory of Hadoop user himself. Okay, this is almost the same, not putting anything as a single dot, which means the root, the home directory, or you can put /user/Hadoop. These all three conventions actually mean the same thing. Once you have populated some data in your user directory in the HDFS cluster, by right you should be able to see something there. Alright, so that's all I want to show you in a quick walkthrough. It's about maybe 10 minutes without the explanation. That means with the AMI, and if you are familiar with the steps, within 10 minutes you can always create new cluster that are running, that's ready for you, so that even if you terminate every time after you finish any exercises in order to save money, okay, you can create the classes quite easily from scratch, and it only takes you about 10 minutes if you know the steps very well or by heart. Okay, and this new image that have been created, you can have a look, has actually some of these services already installed, like Pig, like Spark, and also Hive. Okay, of course Hadoop is also there. Uzi is there, but I didn't set it up because I think it's slightly more complicated, and I do not think I will cover the practical side of it, therefore we leave it. You also might want to look at the IST3134 folder, where 3 zip files has been prepared inside, so that if you would like to use it, you can even unzip them and use it or play with it as how you have been guided in your first labs for this subject. So with that, thank you and enjoy.